Hello everyone, Carnasa here, and welcome back to Kerbal Gets Real. We are now in the year 1962, the first half of 1962, and in the first half of 1962, a Jupiter transfer window will open up. We are also going to attempt to go back to Venus and land, and we are going to continue on with the Daedalus program, our series of missions to send 2 astronauts up to space. But here we are at the start of 1962 on the launch pad with Albert Harper and Karen Richards in Daedalus III. That's right, Daedalus II was the last time that these guys flew, and obviously that didn't go well. It didn't go particularly well, considering the entire thing decided to rapidly disassemble in the middle of its flight and left us really clinging onto our seats as we got these 2 brave astronauts out and had to use the Gemini's inbuilt ejection system to get them out of that capsule, get them out of that wreck, and then parachute themselves safely down into the sea. It was a bit of a disaster, and it was probably the closest that I've come to killing someone in this space agency. And as I have said many times, well, I think I've not said it for a while, but we would really rather not kill anyone if we can, and I am going to probably punish the space agency if someone does die. Like I have been doing with research and development, I will just go in, use the Alt F12 menu to cheat away maybe 100,000 funds, I guess, for the loss of life. 100,000 funds for each person that dies. So I would rather not let anyone die from a purely financial point of view as well, because obviously 100,000 funds is a rather large amount of money, and that's exactly why we're doing this mission here. We need the money. We picked up those lunar contracts, I have spent a lot of it already, and we are going to need to fund our mission to the moon, because yeah, those Apollo capsules do cost a rather large amount of money, and as I have said, I have spent a lot of money already upgrading our space center. But here we have the splashdown of Daedalus III. It was rather successful compared to its predecessor. So I am aware that this video is going to be coming out a lot later than I would have liked it to have done. Yes, I am sat here recording this voiceover 15 minutes after it should have been released if I stick to my initial schedule of putting one of these out every 2 days. So I am really sorry about that. KSP has been causing me all kinds of grief. It keeps crashing. My editing software keeps crashing as well. And that doesn't have an autosave function. I have edited this video so many times and lost so much work doing it. It's been really quite frustrating. But now it's time we head into the vehicle assembly building and work on a contract that we actually picked up last episode. And that contract is going to be the first docking in space. So what I have got here is, well, it's basically going to be our docking target, and it's going to serve another purpose as well. We have unlocked a rather large amount of new science recently, so we're going to put this into a polar inclination, and it's going to get all of that biome-specific science that we have just recently unlocked. I thought, we've not done that around Earth yet, so let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll send this up with a docking port on there, as you can see at the top. We'll stock it full of scientific experiments, and then we're going to send something up to rendezvous with it and dock it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on Daedalus 4. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's such a minor edit. So I'm just going to go into Daedalus 4. I'm going to stick a docking probe, not a docking probe, a docking port on the top of that thing where the decoupler would be for the launch escape system, and just use that, because there's no point designing a whole new crude rocket just for something this minor. And yeah, like I said, I didn't really want to show this in a build bit, because it is so minor. But here we are going to be using the Heracles 60i for the first time. I designed this in a build episode, and we haven't actually used it for anything yet because, well, it can only take 1.5 tons to low Earth orbit. And the missions I am doing at the moment kind of require a little bit more than 1.5 tons to low Earth orbit, if I'm going to be honest. Going to the moon, going to different planets, yeah, we're going to need more than 1.5 tons in low Earth orbit to achieve any of those things. Something else I've picked up recently, and you can probably see here, I have picked up modular launch pads, and I've got the RP1 and the RO configurations for them, something that I'm really excited for because I've never actually been able to use these in RP1 before, and they do look very, very cool. They look very, very cool indeed. However, you are going to have to bear with me for a bit because this is really the first time that I have used these, and they are not particularly complicated, but to make something look really good and kind of better than just slapping some stuff together, it does take a while, and I was kind of happy with how this turned out in the end, but I'm sure I can do better, and I'm sure as this series goes on and I use them more and more and more, I will kind of figure out how to actually use them, and then, well, yeah, they will look a lot better. But that's basically it for our docking target. It's all done. Now we're going to launch it. So yeah, this thing did not take very long to build and roll out at all because it's very small and, well, to be honest, I've been putting a lot of money into my vehicle assembly building. With all of the money that I've been getting, I've been trying to spend it best as I can. So here we have the 25th of February 1962, the first time a Hermes 60i has been launched. And of course, because it's the first time we've launched one of these, it was gonna fail. So yes, the LR89 booster did decide to give up on us. But luckily, like I said, these things do not take very long to build at all. I think they took about 18 days or so we can just whack docking target number 2 up to the top of the build queue, and then we can wait a little bit whilst that gets done. Now, obviously, I want that launched first because we don't really want to be keeping our astronauts in Daedalus 4 waiting around for us to launch that thing. That would be very terrible for all parties involved. So here we go again, Hermes 60i with docking target 2 on the 12th of March 1962, and it worked, it did its job well, it didn't fail. Thank you, because I would not have really wanted to launch a third one of these. Obviously I would have done if I needed to, but yes. Anyway, I'm putting this in a 450 kilometer circular orbit. That way, when we launch Daedalus 4, we can put that in about a 180 kilometer circular orbit. And no matter where docking target 2 is in its orbit, Daedalus will catch up rather quickly. And it's a lot easier to get rendezvous that way, I feel. Like, put something in about a 450 kilometer orbit and then, yeah, you can usually get a really good rendezvous. But that was that, and now it's just a quick wait until we actually get Daedalus 4 all done. Everything is going rather quickly at the moment. So now I just wanted to show this little bit because someone pointed out about the edit action groups, and yeah, I forgot to do that when we had the failure earlier on in this episode, but I went in to edit the action groups here because I wasn't sure if I'd set up the launch abort system correctly, and obviously I really want that thing to work. But anyway, yes, this is Daedalus 4 on its way to do its docking mission, and we have 2 new astronauts in here. We have Ellen Baker and we have James Peters. They have never flown a mission before. This is their first mission, and obviously it's going to be quite a pivotal one. Yes, we do want to dock with something. We need to prove that it's possible, so when we go to the moon, we can do all kinds of docking maneuvers in the lunar orbit. So I'm not going to do a direct descent to the moon. That is really, really rather difficult. Well, I don't know. I might try it, actually. We have picked up that lunar landing contract. It's difficult. Well, it's really difficult to do a direct descent mission because obviously you've got to keep everything on you on the lunar surface, and it just means you need more Delta V. You need more, bigger rockets to actually get that mission up into space. It's a lot easier to do it the way that Apollo did. Obviously have an orbiter around the moon, have a lander, have the lander meet back up with the orbiter. But I do quite like the idea of a direct descent mission. It's just going to be really hard. But yeah, I'll have to we'll come to that bridge when we come to it. We will cross that bridge when we come to it. But here we have Daedalus 4 has met up. It has rendezvoused with docking target number 2. Can we successfully bump their noses together and join them in some kind of unholy matrimony of metal and spacecraft and solar panels? I don't know what I'm going on about here, but yes, we're gonna watch and see if these two can successfully dock. And of course they can, because it's Kerbal space program and it is designed to work like that. So yes, we were completely successful in docking these 2 spacecraft together. However, one thing that went weird when I docked them together is they decided to start randomly spinning out of control. One thing I was actually really worried about this mission was I was going to run out of hydrazine on that service module stage because, yeah, I used a lot to dock, and what I actually did was I actually got the docking target to finish the final docking procedure because I really, really did not want to run out of hydrazine on that service module stage, because if that would have happened, there is a good chance that these guys may have been stranded in space, but luckily we didn't run out. We managed to use our retro rockets to get our astronauts back down to Earth. Ellen Baker and James Peters were completely successful in their mission. They came screaming through the atmosphere, once again burning up in a blaze of fire, but they didn't actually burn up, and yeah, nice happy landing. So another reason as well why this episode has taken a lot longer than I would usually do an episode, I did mention it in a comment in one of my previous videos. Basically, I updated everything. I updated all of my mods, and that caused some issues. So RO Engines has introduced new models for the LR87s, and all of my rockets, all of the Icarus series use that engine. So it caused all of those rockets to be deleted, including all of the ones that I had under construction. And I did back up my save, and I could have gone and sorted it out, but I didn't really want to. I thought, oh, let's just go with the flow and use these new engines. And so yeah, I did have to go and rebuild all of my launch vehicles. And whilst I was doing that, I did a few other bits as well. But here we have Hermes VI on the 15th of May 1962. So this is going to be our next attempt at landing on Venus. We have picked up that Venus landing contract. It is running out of time, not quite urgently, but we do need to get a move on and do it. I think after this we will have potentially one more shot at being able to achieve a Venus landing. So we do have time, but hopefully Hermes VI will be successful in its mission. Everything seemed to go perfectly well. We got our Trans-Venus stage to fire up. Everything looked like it was going exactly to plan. Except something I didn't, well, not that I didn't account for, something I forgot to do. I forgot to put an RTG on the lander, which meant we ran out of battery power and we had no way of getting enough to actually send this thing to Venus. Now that was really, really, really annoying, and a really annoying reason why we had a mission fail. I feel a little bit like an idiot, if I'm going to be honest. It was one little tiny detail that I forgot. I should have picked it up in testing. I don't know why I didn't. I was really kind of beating myself over the head about that one. That was really, really frustrating. So yeah, we had to go in and you can see Hermes 9 and 10 there in the build list. Unfortunately, they're never going to get launched because of what I said about the LR87 just a minute ago. Yes, they are two of the rockets that unfortunately got deleted because they had a new model for the LR87. But it doesn't matter. I'm just going to blame corporate espionage. Someone is definitely out for my space agency and have tried and succeeded to destroy several of my rockets. But here we have, on the 25th of May 1962, Hermes 8 on an Icarus I launch vehicle. This is going to be our attempt at sending a spacecraft to the depths of the solar system. We are going to attempt to go as far as Jupiter with this rocket. That's right, Hermes 8 prime goal is to achieve a highly eccentric orbit around Jupiter. Well, because to get an orbit that isn't eccentric, we're gonna need a lot more than an Icarus I launch vehicle. It takes about 7,000 delta V to actually get to Jupiter, and then once we get there, it takes about another 6,500 to get a nice tight orbit. Obviously, we are not going to be able to do that on top of a rocket that can lift 12 tons to low Earth orbit. No, we're probably going to need something a little bit bigger. But something that I would quite like to do when we actually get to Jupiter is to not just orbit Jupiter, It'd also be kind of nice to visit some of the Galilean moons, because, well, there's 4 of them. We've got Callisto, Io, Europa, and Ganymede. So I do want to put this rocket in a kind of orbit where it will be a lot easier to reach some of those Galilean moons. So what I have done here is I have made a maneuver node, a deep space maneuver node, that we are going to try and edit our inclination when we get to Jupiter, so that it is going to be as roughly as close to the inclinations of those moons when we get there, saving us on a lot of delta V to change our inclination to actually get some encounters with those. So that's going to be in about 240 days or so. And the rest of the mission, well, it's going to take, I think, about 2.5 years to get there, which actually isn't too bad going to Jupiter. It could have taken a lot longer. So it's going to be a few episodes before we see Jupiter, but it's definitely going to be something very exciting to look forward to. But with the successful launch of Hermes 8, that is actually the last launch that we're going to be, well, launching, I guess, in the first half of 1962. Yep, we're all done, and it is still only the end of May, so we've got a full month left of stuff to do. So, what to do when you've got a month and nothing planned for that month? I guess what we can do is we can actually go in and we can start planning some of the future missions that we're going to be doing in 1962 Part 2. We can see that we've got, well, our Venus transfer window coming up, and a Mars one, and a Ceres one, and a Vesta. Is that how you pronounce Ceres? I'm not entirely sure. But we're going to change around our research a little bit because I want to get those mature capsules as soon as possible. But vehicle assembly building time. I did say I had to redesign all of my launch vehicles, and this isn't really a redesign. This is an upgrade to a design. This is going to be Icarus X. So once again, a 2-stage launch vehicle. But instead of using one of those LR87 LH2 engines on the upper stage, we are going to be using not 1, but 2 J2 engines. This launch vehicle can lift about 25 tons to low Earth orbit, and is actually going to be the first launch vehicle that I need the 700-ton pad for. And the reason why I've got this launch vehicle is that Venus window that's coming up. Yes, I have off-camera designed a different Venus spacecraft called Voila, so V-O-I-L-A, and it's Venus Orbiter and Lander is basically what it stands for. It should be a completely foolproof way of getting to Venus, I really hope, because we've had one failed Venus mission this episode. We had a failed Venus mission like a couple of episodes ago. It's about time we do it successfully, so I have probably overbuilt it, but oh well, I want to get there. That contract is going to run out, and yeah, I don't want to lose that money if I'm going to be particularly honest, but that's why I have designed the Icarus X. So yes, 2 J2 engines on the upper stage, 4 E1 engines on the lower stage, and it can get about 25 tons to low Earth orbit. So I am sure we're going to have more applications for this other than just the Voila probe. You might think that this episode is all over, but no it's not, because suddenly Mars. That's right, Hermes III has finally come into communications range, so we can actually do everything that we wanted to do with it. That includes activating that ScanSat and all of the scientific experiments that are aboard, because we have a lot of scientific experiments aboard this thing that we really, really want to use now that we're at Mars. But here I am trying to lower our orbit so that the ScanSat can actually work. And unfortunately, didn't quite have enough to get it to under a 500-kilometer orbit, which is rather sad. So we are not going to get any altimetry data for the South Pole of Mars, because when we go around the South Pole, we're going to be, I think, around 620 kilometers up. And you'd be amazed how much of Mars we actually miss because of that. But, oh well, we've got another Mars window coming up. We are going to be sending more things to Mars. I don't think I'm going to be sending a ScanSat though. That will probably come within the next window. But that was it. That is finally the end of 1962 Part 1. I am very sorry how long it has taken for this video to come out. There have been a lot of reasons why. Hopefully, 1962 Part 2 will be a lot quicker to come out. But yes, if you have enjoyed this episode, why not give it a like? If you have really enjoyed this episode and would like to continue with the content on my channel, please do go and subscribe. I have been Carnasa, and I will see you later.